Hi there, this is a quick intro to getting started with Cadence Web. What I'm going to do in this video over the span of about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit quicker, is go over some of the core functionalities of Cadence Web, show you how to kick off a session, and also go over some sessions that I already finished running to show what kind of outputs the system generates and how you can interact with those. So when you log in, you'll come to this landing screen, which has a chat window. I'm going to come back to this later and give some more detail about how to interact with the chat. I would encourage new users to actually start in the Resources tab so you can kind of see what tools are available to you as you use Cadence Web. Cadence comes preloaded with skills, which are tools that your agent can call, and it's smart enough to call on its own without you specifically telling it to use a skill. But this library is helpful so you kind of know what capabilities come embedded within the system. Databases are publicly accessible databases that already have existing API connections, and you can use the search bar to kind of find ones that might be of relevant interest to you, like this. And then finally, workflows, which are preloaded prompts that you can use with the agent, and they've been optimized to get the best possible response from the Cadence agent. And what I mean by this is we've taken into consideration what kind of skills the agent has access to, and we've developed prompts that it will respond well to and give thorough responses. So I'll show you how to start using these workflows from the chat window momentarily, but definitely go through all of these. There's 300 workflows, over 200 databases, and over 100 skills, and understanding what's in here will really help you take the most advantage of this platform. I'll also note finally that by clicking into kind of each of these cards, you'll be able to see the full details for each of these. All right, getting started will just pop up a little banner to tell you how to get started. We're going to skip over that here. The other thing I want to point out is this kind of a little bit hidden history button. So this history button will show you all of the sessions that you've run previously in a kind of easy to parse format. So all of the sessions you've run in the past are also available on this sidebar, but it's a little bit difficult to navigate once you've run a lot of sessions like I have. So you can use this to kind of search. So maybe flower or garden. I know I've done some garden ones. You can use this to search for past use cases, past sessions that you've run. The caveat here is that this search is connected directly to the session title. So if your keywords are not in the session title, which is kind of what you see here, and it's typically automatically system generated, but you can rename it yourself. If that keyword isn't in the system title, Cadence might have a little bit of trouble pulling that up. So for example, if I type cell, it's going to bring up everything with cells. So keep that in mind as you're running sessions and organizing them. All right, so let's get into creating a new session. From your chat window, this is going to be very similar to prompting ChatGPT or Claude, whatever kind of daily LLMs you might use. But it has a couple more buttons that you should be aware of. So the attachment file will allow you to directly upload files or drop in links from the web that you want the agent to reference. Here we'll upload some demo data that I have. The @resources button is going to show you all of those resources that we saw here, just in a little bit of a more compact format, and you can search those to kind of find what is relevant to your use case. And then finally, workflows. You can choose a workflow and personalize it. Let's see. Okay, actually, let's use this Explore My Data one. Finally, I would like to point out that we have a couple of different modes that you can run Cadence on. So Instant, Standard, and Pro. This is equivalent to the thinking level. So if you use ChatGPT or Claude, they will typically have a low, medium, or high thinking level. This is kind of the same thing, just with a bit of different nomenclature. And then the dollar amounts here correspond to the dollar amount that your session will be capped at. So if you choose standard mode, a session will never go over $9. And if you choose pro mode, a session will never go over $29 or 29 credits. In the Cadence platform, 1 credit equals $1. And 2 more features that I'd like to point out. We just added voice to text mode last week, so this is a brand new feature if you want to just talk to Cadence. And finally, incognito chat. When you have this turned on, it means that any of the session information, so any inputs, outputs, or chat will not be saved and will be deleted from the system once you... All right, so let's go ahead and send this. So Cadence, whenever you give it a prompt, it starts with creating a research plan for you. And the research plan always tells you what the agent is going to do. And it also has the agent clarify anything that it needs clarification on. So here it needs to know what kind of output I'm expecting, what file format, and kind of how I want my data treated and how I want that output to look. So I like to just tell Cadence, especially when I'm working with data that I am not personally familiar with, I always tell it, go ahead and use your best judgment. All right, so Cadence comes up with its own plan based on your answer. So it is going to use best scientific practices for single-cell genomics data. It's going to give you its assumptions and the research plan. And once you have this research plan, you can respond in the chat to tweak any of the parameters it's giving you if you don't like what it's proposed. For the sake of this demo, I am just going to go ahead and tell it, please proceed. Cadence is going to utilize its multi-agent harness to delegate work that might be related to data analysis, scientific writing, figure generation, and so on and so forth. So your session, depending on how data heavy it is or how rigorous your request is, it can take anywhere from minutes to hours to run your session. So if it takes a long time, don't worry. This is kind of expected due to the multi-agent harness structure. Users in the past have come across issues where the session sometimes gets hung or it seems not to be proceeding. If that is the case, you can contact support, although it tends to be the exception rather than the rule that this happens. As the agents make progress, it's going to show you in real time what is happening. So typically the agents will break their research plan down into tasks and then have an update associated with each task. At the end of each task, it will tell you whether it successfully completed the task against its success criteria and where it needs to revise for the next iteration or next task. All right, while we are waiting for this session to finish, I'm going to hop over to a different session so we can see kind of some different outputs. So this was a kind of silly one that I did. How long until humans become crabs, based on the theory of carcinization, and had Cadence write me a report on if humans are going to become crabs. And you can see here that the main output I asked for was a report, so it gave a 42-page report, complete with graphics and citations at the end. Whenever Cadence generates an artifact for you, such as a report, it also gives you all of the original data and analysis, so you can rerun it yourself or kind of tweak the methodology and rerun it how you typically would. Some data types can't be read, but typically if it's a commonly accepted data format that is not vendor specific, Cadence can handle it. It currently has support for 77 different data types, and we just added support for Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, which was a highly requested format. It's really friendly with Markdown. It's really friendly with PDFs. It will draft papers in LaTeX as well and give you bibliography. All right, hopping to a different use case. This is a geology use case. You can also view and edit code. Cadence can write code as well as frontier models, Opus and GPT. And we just added the functionality for you to edit code in line. So before you export it, you can make any changes that you need. All right, looking at other use cases, we do have some immunology use cases that might be interesting here. So in these use cases, we had Cadence pointed at a publicly available data set and said, go download this data set, do X, Y, Z with it, build a model, and then give us, some concrete predictions based on what you found in this data. This one is a mass cytometry analysis. And again, all of these kind of prompts here were run just with Cadence being given a text prompt. We didn't load in any data. It had to go and find the data itself. The caveat here is that when you have Cadence go and find its own data, it's going to take a little bit longer because it's searching the web, it's doing quality control, and of course downloading, which is going to be a little bit time consuming. Finally, some administrative things about Cadence. So whenever Cadence session finishes, you'll get this little session pop-up. You can rate the session depending on how it met your expectations or didn't meet your expectations and add comments and attachments. This goes directly to our team. We have a Slack channel and email address that gets this feedback directly, so we know if an issue needs to be addressed without you submitting a support ticket. So this is a direct way to contact our team and helps us a lot to understand how and where we can improve the product. Your Cadence account credits will be shown here, and you can top up on credits through here. We use Stripe, so you will need a credit card to do so. And finally, we have some account settings that you should be aware of. So if you have any data sources that you like to access via API, you can configure custom MCP servers to connect to your Cadence account and allow Cadence to access that data. And finally, we do have a custom instructions section. So if you have any specific instructions that you want to persist across all sessions without coaching Cadence time and time again on how you, for example, like how you like output structured or how you approach analysis of certain data, you can put these instructions in here and save them as part of your account settings. All right, so I think it's going to be a little while for this session to finish, so I'll wrap it up here. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself. My name is Aubrey. I'm the head of operations at Cadence, or our CTO, Timothy Cassis. We are happy to assist. Thank you so much.